Hello. I just had a meal in Taft, California, and you're listening to HUELL'S Gold.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 60 of HUELL'S Gold. I'm Allan.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Andrew.
Yes, we have a guest. We were supposed to have two guests, but one chickened out a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
It's all good, though. So, Andrew, we've known each other a long time.
A long time.
I even convinced you to be the best man at my wedding. Haha, got you.
Yep.
Hey, that speech was awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Better than the cinnamon rolls.
Hey, now. Those Old West cinnamon rolls from Pismo, thanks to you picking them up on the way.
Didn't somebody eat one off the floor or something?
That was Allan.
That was me, for sure. I didn't know if I was going to get seconds.
And then you saw my stepmom get some, and you ate, what, 6
Yeah.
after that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We had cinnamon rolls instead of cake at my wedding.
Dude, I was waiting all day for that.
I don't
I
think
know.
I had one. I don't remember having
What?
one. I was nervous, man. I had to talk in front of all those people.
Well, I had to get married.
Yeah,
I ate 3.
I've done that.
No. Well, I might have. I don't really remember. Either way, yes. Andrew and I have known each other a long time. Alan's known him a good chunk of time, too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, we were roommates, all that kind of stuff. But you also have worked in an industry that we're going to be talking a lot about this week. Oil.
Yep. Oil. I've worked in the oil industry for 15 years now, which by most people's standards means I'm still a worm.
You'll hear more about that later.
Yes.
So, specifically, it's the episode's called Oil, but it's really like local oil. It's Kern Oil.
It's really just a small picture of that, too. There's
figured,
a lot
yeah.
more going on here than that.
Because even what you do really is nothing like this, right?
It's part of it.
I don't
we'll
even
talk
know.
about when we get further in.
Okay. So, we're in Taft. That's our location, which, Alan, exactly where is Taft from here? I'm bad with the directions.
Taft, it's southeast. Sorry. Whoops. Southwest.
Yeah, 45 miles southwest.
Okay.
45 miles southwest. Yep.
And
Do you want me to throw out my experience with the oil fields?
I didn't know you had one.
One.
So-
Not some.
2 weeks, I helped my cousin he's a welder he builds bits and rebuilds them.
Okay.
Okay. It's a good story.
That's it? No? Oh, okay.
What'd you help him with?
So I was in his shop, and I was using a wire wheel,
Yeah.
and I had my Prove It, the band Prove It from Fresno.
Yeah.
It's a hardcore band. And I was wire wheeling because I was going to paint the bit.
Mm-hmm.
Wire wheel jumped, grabbed my shirt, and ripped it off my body.
I mean, that's super dangerous. Could have really messed you up. But
Oh, yeah.
That's terrifying.
That's all I got.
So
That's
what, were you just topless the rest of the day?
No, I went home.
Okay.
But you had to go home
That
topless.
was about 5 hours into it was like ripped collar. It was kind of hanging off if Hulk Hogan didn't get the full rip.
Oh, okay. So,
So
if
when
he
like
tried
that.
to do it nowadays.
And when he was learning, maybe?
Yep. If he didn't have that little cut. in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheating.
Hey, man.
So what I'm saying is I have zero experience,
Okay.
basically. So.
I have, super duper zero experience.
Oh, okay.
Never even a little bit. Just vicariously through Andrew hearing
Just when you
stories
change
for
your oil?
years.
You got some on your hand?
I have changed my oil a lot at Andrew's house, ironically, too, is where I do it.
Oh, I do have a second story.
What? This is more than I ever expected.
Okay, so when we would drive down Rosedale Highway and we'd pass Fruitville,
Uh-huh.
on the left is a refinery.
Yeah.
For many years, my mom told me that was Disneyland.
You've told me this story
What?
before.
And I believed her. And she said, "Oh, we can't go. They're closed."
How old were you?
I had to have been probably from the ages of 6 to 10.
Dude,
or
that's
6
too
to-
That's,
old.
Yeah, that's too long to believe that.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
And had you wait, you never went to Disneyland until you were an adult, too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah, what would you have to base it on? Because,
I went when I was 2.
oh, well, yeah, that doesn't count.
And one
I
of
guess.
the chipmunks knocked over my orange juice.
So that's why you didn't
And I
go
started
again.
crying. I have a picture of just me crying.
Wow. What
So
a
anyway,
childhood.
I know. It was.
It's okay to cry
Set-
over
set
spilt
me-
orange juice.
Yeah.
It set me up for success.
So, Huel is really getting into the feel of things, I guess, right off the bat, because he's like our cold open is him in the patch, I guess you could call it. And this definitely is one of these episodes where he's just like there for a day because he never changes his shirt. And he does put on a hat at one point, but either way. First off, he's got his boots on. Do you think these are steel toe boots?
No,
Okay, I also
they don't look
agree.
like steel toes.
Because there are many times when he is acting very unsafe in this episode.
Yes.
Like if some supervisor of some sort had shown up, or is there some sort of like safety officer or something
Yeah,
out there?
absolutely. Everywhere, especially now.
Okay, maybe in 1995 there wasn't as many because Huel is he's getting in it way too much. But yeah, in the patch, in the desert of Taft, and then he just gets right into it, so we should just get right into it too. Yeah?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
All right.
Hit it, Huel.
Our destination was located in the western part of Kern County, near the town of Taft, which is situated right in the middle of this historic field. Now, we didn't have to drive far before we got a big hint about what this field is famous for. Look, there are pumps everywhere going full speed. And believe me, these pumps are pumping gold. Black gold. Welcome to the Midway Sunset Field, a giant oil field that's been producing since the 1890s. In fact, since 1890, this field has produced over 2 billion, that's with a B, billion barrels of oil. And today it still ranks as the largest oil-producing field in the lower 48 states. That's big. And to find out more about this field and its rich history, our first stop was the West Kern Oil Museum in Taft, a wonderful place that's full of all kinds of neat stuff. We were greeted at the museum by a group of docents and friends who were ready to show us around.
So good old Taft.
What's your affiliation with Taft?
Mine?
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, first off, our intro, the little intro-y things we've been doing, this Radio Lab ripoff that we've been doing for the last
Rip
season.
off, no.
Yeah. That was my friend Henry. Our friend Henry. We all know Henry.
We all know Henry.
We saw him last night. And he works in Taft. His family owns La Salsa Mexican restaurant in Taft. We've all been there, right? Have you been, Allan?
I haven't been, no.
What?
Okay.
I've taken people from work after jobs to there.
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I've had pizza there, and that's about it.
Henry made me guac. It was great.
What's the pizza place that's it's Western themed?
Western themed.
Am I off?
There's actually like a Thai food Asian fusion pizza
That's where
place
Guy
there.
Fieri went, right?
That place is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. You've been telling me about this place
It's
for a while.
really good. It's worth the drive.
As is La Salsa. Good
Yes.
old Henry's family restaurant.
The salsas is great.
Yes.
They've got a great parking lot, which is important to me.
Because you're often driving big vehicles. Henry also is a fellow podcaster. He hosts a podcast called the King of Sports Podcast. And if you are wrestling fans like us, it is absolutely unmissable. He covers in depth everything to do with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Probably I would say the best wrestling promotion in the world currently. And he knows everything. He's so deep down dirty in this thing. And Alan's pulling up pizza stuff.
It's Pizza Factory.
Yeah,
It's not super Western themed. But
No,
there's-
it's in every town with a certain population in California.
Is that this
We've
is a
talked
chain?
about
Everywhere.
This is a chain.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a chain for sure.
Because there's one. You and I had this conversation.
There's one in Kernville.
That was the one.
There's one in Oakhurst. There's one in Mariposa. There's one
I've
everywhere.
never been to one.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere.
Learn something new every day.
I'll tell you a little side story. You had a side story. The pizza factory in Lake Isabella. It's actually the town of Lake Isabella. Is the site of what was. It is now in like the retail location that used to be empty when I was a 4-year-old kid, and there was a haunted house in that retail space.
Like during Halloween?
Yeah.
Or was it
And
really haunted?
it traumatized me to the point of like not being able to go to haunted houses for a long, long time. Like 19.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was really gnarly. Because think about like the super small mountain town style of people in general doing a haunted house in a halfway abandoned retail space. It was
Yeah.
scary. Of course, I was 4, so maybe.
Yeah, but 15 years of damage.
Yeah.
That's-
Either way, Henry's podcast is cool. We will throw a link in there. Get it wherever you find podcasts. King of Sports Podcasts.
Why didn't we do the show from, is it called La Salsa? What is
La
it?
Salsa, yeah.
La Salsa.
I thought about that because he's actually working right now. That would have been great. But, you
Yeah.
know, like we're already late as it is, like, working our schedules and everything. Oh, well.
Yeah, I'm hungry though.
No,
This
right?
one- that would have been great.
So that's, do you go out to Taft often? Or,
I would say I've been there, like actually been there maybe 10 times.
oh,
Like I've driven through a million times on the way to the coast or something like that, but like actually just gone there, and I'd say 8 of those times was to eat at La Salsa.
okay. I
Other
gotta
times
go.
they do have some all right thrift stores, bookstore there too. So it's
So I went skating there a lot. The skate park's a little different now because they took the 8 stair. They made it a little roll-in.
Did they really?
Yeah. So I don't know what happened there, but we used to go and skate the Lincoln Junior High, and other things. Oh, and I ollied the 14 stair.
congratulations.
Hey, man, you know what? It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So, Andrew, you've just been to Taft tons of times because of work, right?
Yeah, well, I started going there for the skate park in high school, and I'm fairly sure I still have a bench warrant in Taft because of that
Oh.
skate park.
You what?
Have a bench warrant.
Oh, do you?
I had a ticket for no helmet, and I just never paid it.
Well, the statute of limitations must have run out on that, right?
I'll ask my lawyer.
Okay.
No, I went out to Taft daily for a long time. I've been there hundreds of times for work. I work in the office now, and I send people out there daily to
Yeah.
all of these places. In this episode, I send my guys every day.
Yeah, this is why I want you on here because
Yeah, we want to see get the inside
the
details.
the insider scoop. But Huell starts it off at the Taft Oil Museum, which is a place that I've always wanted to go to and have never been. Have either of you been to this place?
I have not.
I believe I have, but I always get it confused with the one here in in Bakersfield.
Yeah, because there's the Kern County Museum has the black gold exhibit, which is similar in that it shows a lot of the Kern County oil history, but Taft Oil Museum is unique in that they have all this like early 1900s era oil equipment that they've restored and have running. And you can apparently, I don't know if you can as just regular patrons or if this is special Huell stuff, you can just walk in this super rickety old stuff.
There's no way.
I don't know, man. This
Well, maybe in '95.
and
but
well, Taft also gives me a Wild West feel in general.
this was a quarter of a century ago.
Yeah. But still, Taft is still... It's a different world in a lot of ways, I would say. I wish... And that's what's unfortunate that our other guest, Allan's friend, isn't here because he works in Taft currently. And he could have given us kind of like a Taft the city nowadays point of view.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to make it all up then.
Ugh.
But Huell is interviewing really the only name I really caught in the whole segment, which is Jane Kinsey, who's the curator of the Taft Oil Museum. And you got anything on old Janie?
I do. She graduated from UC Berkeley with a degree in English. She came back to Taft, and she worked there for 38 years. She was the dean of girls at Lincoln Junior High, and she was, I think it was, the first volunteer curator. She was,
Oh, wow.
She was there from the beginning.
Okay. And what's she up to these days?
She's resting. Why do you got to bring that up, dude? She's already pretty old in the.
I know. It's just kind of like our running thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's bad news, guys. I mean, you already heard it.
She ran out of life. When'd she run out of life?
I don't know. I actually can't find her obituary, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Hopefully it was just recently, in that she got to live super long time.
Like today?
How,
Well, let's hope.
Yeah. It's odd that you would know that she's passed away, but they don't say when exactly.
Hey, man, blame it on the Taft Midway Driller.
What
It
is
didn't
this?
give details. I don't know.
Is this a newspaper? Or like a newsletter for the...
It's a fantastic question.
Okay.
I don't know.
Either way, Huell is all up in this museum, and obviously he's got access to a lot of these old-timey oil-producing pictures. And, you know, it did seem like... I don't know. It seemed like the oil fields back in the day were more of like a family affair, in that they created these whole towns and everything. Because that doesn't exist now, right? Anything like this, necessarily?
No one lives out there. Everyone just stays in the hotels if they're working out of town.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone who works out in Taft, McKittrick area, they just live in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
It's like the modern day equivalent is... I'm trying to think how to say this. Is it this similar thing that's happening in like North Dakota and South Dakota, how oil companies are building living quarters?
Yeah.
Is that kind of happening? I don't know much
It
about
kind of
it.
defines a boom.
Yeah.
That's definitely what was happening here.
Well, 'cause-
it seemed
Right,
like.
but this started as early as 1850.
Yeah.
They kind of stopped again, 1850, 1860, 1890s. It started getting really big, and then they're mostly talking about like early 1900s or 1910, 1911.
Yeah.
And then at that point, California had 22% of the world's oil production,
Yeah.
more than every other foreign country.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane.
The one thing, so since we were looking at the tent house,
Yeah,
here,
that's what the families would live in back then.
seemed pretty cool. I mean, it wasn't so much like what the Okies lived in. This was more.
You mean like a weed patch?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It, like
it's a
that
little
was called
higher
Sunset
tech.
as well. Weird.
Yeah, because it's Sunset School now. The
Whoa.
school that
That's a trip. So on this, instead of the kids building their own swimming pool, though,
Oh yeah, that did happen.
the oil companies actually provided a lot of the amenities, which I thought was interesting.
They had to. I mean, if they wanted people to work out there, transportation, it's hard to go 45 miles a day back
Yeah,
then twice. Yeah.
true.
Lots of,
But I was
it looked like
thinking-
incentives.
I was thinking the pools,
Mhm.
right? The different things like that. But there was also, what did they mention about the what do you call it? The oil money, the oil tax money.
That
for the schools.
Yeah, the schools were really good and kind of like well funded because of the oil tax money, which I was going to ask you about because that doesn't.
I think a lot of it. Well, I don't know how it was based back then, but for a lot of years, it was property taxes
It's
were redirected back.
It's still a thing. When we go to work on new wells, we've got to get the right information, the nearest town to that well, so that town gets the taxes from that well. And I'm not sure in what
Huh.
fashion or respect.
Well,
but
I was
it's
thinking
still a thing.
when you look at the salaries of some of the high school teachers in Taft,
You're seeing that
they're doing all right.
reflect?
They're doing okay. Yeah, there's still a
All
good
right.
amount of money flowing through. But the trippy part about it was, I'm trying to remember what they said. Was it the orchestra or band? The girls' band was taken to
The Rose Bowl.
Rose Parade. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to
the Rose
trying to
Parade,
do that.
not the Rose Bowl.
Not the Rose Bowl. Oh, I don't care then.
It would have been a great game.
No, I guess yeah,
Like
like
football way back then.
and this is the Taft is still a very small population town. This is like I don't really know what it was back then, but what do you think it was today, Alan?
What's that?
The population of Taft give or
Today?
take. Yeah,
20,000? 30,000?
I wouldn't even go that high.
I don't know.
It sounds like something we don't have to guess at.
Yeah, should we look it up?
Let's look it up.
Okay.
This is amazing.
All right, we solved it.
What is it?
So in 2017, it was 9,425 people, which was up from 2010's 9,327 people. So it netted 98 people
That's
as a gain.
really interesting because I remember reading something a few years ago that said more than 10,000 people left Bakersfield to go work out in Taft every single day. So it's more than the
More
entire
than the whole
population.
pop-
Well, they-
wow.
That's a trip.
Yeah. And, like, the highway that... I doubt that everyone that goes from the Bakersfield area to Taft takes what we call Taft Highway, is the road. Because there's a number of different roads that kind of swoop in and out. But that is known as a pretty dangerous road.
That's what I hear. I don't drive it very often, so
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure Andrew has more.
Yeah, Highway 119. It's always busy. Between 5 and 7 a.m., there's no reason to go that way unless you're working.
Yeah. And, well, even pretty much any time of day, there's a chance that you can be stuck behind some big, giant vehicle at some point. And because it's
Probably
on
one of my trucks.
Yeah. And because it's a grade going one way or the other, that truck probably won't be going too fast. Or going too fast because it's going downhill. But trucks, oil field employees never speed, right?
No, most of our vehicles have, we call them black boxes. They're tattletales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was mostly not even possible. And all the other
there's
companies
no way
are catching up.
There's no way to hack those or anything?
The old ones, you could stick a paper clip in and pop the speaker, so at least you didn't have to hear it. But no, the new ones are, they're beyond us.
Okay. Oh, man. So, back at the oil museum, we get one of like the kind of old-timey oil derricks, but it's just made of wood, but it looks much like the ones you see now. Well, I'm not sure. I say you see now. We see them a lot. Like, you have seen them many times in your life, but...
Yeah, we've got them in the middle of town.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bakersfield is one of these weird places that there's oil pockets everywhere, and it's lucrative enough to where sometimes they just put one of these oil derricks in a parking lot somewhere, and it'll be there for decades.
Didn't you go to a Lewis Black
Yeah.
show?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of, too. I remember
Okay,
hearing
you-
the story, yeah.
And if anyone remembers the comedian Lewis Black, he was on The Daily Show. He's still around and funny. He was flabbergasted at this, and he ranted about it for a good 10 minutes, just screaming at the top of his lungs how stupid it was. Hey, whatever, Louis. Not the Louis behind the camera of this show, but Lewis Black. But the footage in the show, it's pretty much what you'd expect. Old time stories from older gentlemen.
My favorite?
Are you going to say it?
No, I'll let you say it.
Oh.
I was supposed to see if it's the same thing.
He just calls these contraptions here, these oil derricks, majestic old devils. He says they're prettier than the pyramids to him.
Is that... This is Straw Hat Man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when they were talking about how you can... Because Huell was saying, is this thing... Did he call it healthy? I feel like
think,
they
yeah.
used that. That's how they described it. And he said... he put his hands, kind of over each other and said, when the water table's square...
I've never heard of a water table being like triangular or anything else.
Right. So anyway, I thought it was so that... How tall was that one?
106 feet.
Yeah.
That was the big boy, right? And the other one is
80.
80?
Mm-hmm.
80
80 feet? That's funny, though, yeah. Majestic little devils.
And then from
Chuckle.
there, from the where the old derricks are and the big kind of tower style, do you know what the name of that would be? Is it any different name?
No, that's a derrick. The new ones are with...
Like
they're just pump jacks. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the derrick is the tower
Yeah.
structure, and the jack is the
So
seesaw.
big focus on this is on the wooden one, and they're nearly all gone. But interestingly, there's maybe 30 miles north of McKittrick, there's a giant steel one. It's a big landmark, the steel derrick.
Does it
They
still
used to give directions.
work?
I'm not sure if it's producing, but it's still there. I think it's
Oh,
because it's too hard to take down.
So you mentioned the before you get to anything,
Okay.
you said directions, and I've heard many stories about directions in the oil fields. I don't know if you have stories about this, but just how kind of backward it all is out there.
Yeah, if you get on Google and look at some of these maps, you see a lot of unnamed roads. There are tons of names for these roads.
Like
Some are
just-
specific to companies, some are specific to people, some are just nicknames. It's very hard. I've been given directions, to turn left at the third cow. That cow is always that cow is always there. It'll be there, and then you get there and it's not there.
It sounds like Dwight giving directions to Schrute Farms.
Yeah, it's strange, but we always manage to find it.
That's funny.
What were we going to say, Alan?
I was going to say that the Kern County Museum, you mentioned the black gold exhibit.
Yeah.
They have obviously I know nothing about oil derricks, but it moves.
Yes, it does.
And, I thought it was pretty cool. There's at least a replica
Huh?
that maybe doesn't work, but it's cool.
I don't think these
don't
ones
know how to
work
describe
either.
it.
They move, but
Yeah,
I don't-
they move,
They're
yeah.
definitely not pumping real oil out of the ground
No.
anymore.
And I don't know anything about the one that's at the Kern County Museum.
We need to take a trek over there pretty
yeah, we
soon.
do. Yeah, we do.
That's what I'm saying. But after there's the first part of the museum, the derricks. Then they go to the tents, which we already kind of talked about. And the description given about the tents is that they're hotter than Hades. Another great straw hat
That's a
man
good-
I
quote.
think he was just talking about Bakersfield in general, or Kern County.
Kern County is a county of extreme weather because it can be 100 degrees down here in the valley and like near freezing up in the mountains of Tehachapi. So, Straw Hat Man, don't stereotype this county, if you ask me. But it is hot. Super hot.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I've been out there and it's been 120 degrees.
Ugh. And you're wearing
Remember,
like
I had long hair and then I
coveralls?
came home and shaved it when we still lived together.
And then you kept your ponytail for... Do you still have it?
Oh, no. One of the kids found it in an old shoebox, and then it ended up where the dogs got it. And then, my past was just strewn across the backyard.
Story of your life.
Uh-huh.
So there's no real clip cut here where I can cut a clip for you to hear what this next thing is, so you get to hear us say it. They move on a couple miles up the road to...
Have you already discussed the walking the beam, the moving beam?
I thought that came at the end.
Oh, what?
Like because they go back to the museum, do they not?
Yeah, they mentioned it, but then you're talking about when they were talking about the kids playing on it?
Yeah, because I know they come
that's
back to
later.
it.
Yeah.
But they, okay, so I guess we'll come back to it. I got some stuff on that.
Okay. They head on over to the Lakeview Gusher, which, when you say Gusher in my mind, I just think of the fruit snacks, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I don't
Anything
know
that
where I'm
gushes, like a Totino's pizza roll can be a gusher, and a
So,
savory
like,
gusher.
after school snacks, basically, is what
Anytime
we're
they
talking about
package
here.
it, and it could explode.
So the Lakeview Gusher is it was an oil pipeline that they were drilling, and there was some built up gas behind it, and pow, just there it goes, right?
Yeah, it would blow out.
Is this a thing that still happens?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Nearly every well has BOPs installed, blowout preventers, to prevent this exact thing.
Yeah.
What exactly? Because I think that's what the guy's talking about, the independent operator.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking to. He said, "We're going to put something special on this."
He
in case
said that
happens.
they would in case, but now it's required all the time, no
Okay.
matter what.
All right. So how does it stop it? Is it?
It just closes everything in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's like a
Well-
safety valve. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they definitely didn't have it then, back in 1910,
No.
and they obviously had to figure something out because this gets real serious real quick. Because this thing shot oil like tens of feet up into the air for 18 months straight.
Okay. And this is okay. Remember the first time when we were talking about the Salton
Yeah.
and how basically the canal broke, the Colorado River,
Yeah.
and then it comes out later that it was flowing into the basin for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, before they noticed. Right?
Yeah, right. This is one of those things. It's like, well, I guess they couldn't really stop it. They didn't have technology, but
No, they couldn't even get close to it.
yeah. which I thought was funny. Just 18. It's a year and a half of just.
Because it was shooting up minimum 18,000 barrels a day, and we hear that term.
Didn't they say up to 90,000?
Yeah, up to 90,000.
And that's an estimate, but
and we hear that term all the time, like price per barrel on the news. If ever oil prices get talked about, and like how big is a oil barrel?
I was hoping you would ask me that. My one piece of technical information.
Okay, because I've never actually known, other than just seeing like an oil drum at a auto parts store or something.
Well, that's different. That's a drum, not a barrel. A drum is 55 gallons. A barrel is 42 gallons. So let's
42 gallons.
Doing some math. 90,000 barrels a day times 42 gallons a barrel. 3,780,000 gallons a day just spewing into the air.
For 18 months.
Almost 4 million gallons.
And this, it literally created a oil lake out here that they had to shore up with burlap sandbags.
Sandbags,
yeah. And
Which Huell, before he grabs his little bit, takes an old nice sniffer. Did you notice that?
oh yeah, because Huell always has to get all up in things, and he walks right up and just snags a bit off.
The scenes out here and the scenes coming up confuse me because you never ever see a single scene where everyone's wearing a hard hat.
That is true.
Sometimes Huell is, but not the people he's talking to, and then vice versa.
Do you think they're sharing one?
Totally. I do think so.
Just not enough?
I think there's 2 hard hats and there's 4 guys. So they're just like at any given time, you're closest to the swinging danger zone. You put the hat on. So that oil lake was 60 acres wide. 60 acres. Like, I can't even really visualize what that would really... It's a full lake size.
He said there were also oil ponds and, streams that flowed between them, right?
And there's even a picture of someone,
in a rowboat.
rowing down an oil river. Like, you're calling this hot as Hades. This looks like the depths of hell over here. This river of oil.
Styx.
Down. The river Styx, yeah.
What do they call it? The trout stream? And everyone kind of laughed a little bit. Yeah, that's... So, in looking at this, I guess the oil industry was able to recover 50% of the oil that's spewed out.
That's insane.
Which is pretty crazy.
Well,
that's true.
Terrible.
Well, given,
in today's numbers, I
Yeah.
think, yeah. But back then, when they got burlap sacks and shovels and stuff.
I will say that most of today's technology is based around trying to make up for how inefficient they were back then to recover more oil.
Okay.
Well, okay, I want to say one more thing before I get into that. There was another gusher that went down over on, what was it? Something Hill?
25 Hill.
25 Hill. Have you been to these?
I send people there every day. Still.
So weird.
All of these fields are still very active.
Okay. And that gusher caught on fire. And they ran tours 24 hours a day. And there was some joke that I think Straw Hat said about, they never got a single cent from the tourism, but they made light enough for tours to be run of the lake view.
Right, which is this a perfect example of an externality in economics.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. I like giving real-world examples of economic stuff because it's so darn hard to understand.
Well, typically it's negative, but this is a positive externality.
Well,
I was
from
negative
which
to
viewpoint? Yeah.
the Hill dudes,
Yeah.
whoever owned that one.
Yeah.
So that was back then. Did you guys have any more on the Lakeview Gusher before I move on?
Not the monument, the pillar there that signifies it.
That little plaque thing there?
Of a couple years ago when Pokemon Go was a thing. Me and a lot of people at work end up doing these impromptu oil field tours of all these historical sites because they all popped up as something to interact with in that game.
That's so funny.
I remember going to Discovery Well in McKittrick for the first time. I had been within 30 feet of it a lot, but never stopped. But we all had to stop because of this game.
That's so funny.
Dude, this is a Snorlax.
It forced history on us.
Hey, it worked.
It did.
Because I
awesome.
like history and have never been there. So maybe I should get back into Pokemon Go. So should we move on?
Yeah, let's do
moving
it.
on.
Okay, we're actually time traveling now, so he will hit it to the future.
Now, it's one thing to see a famous oil well from the past, but my new friends also wanted to show me firsthand some present-day oil operations. So we headed out across the oil fields for a couple of miles for what ended up being a little on-the-job training.
So before we get into this new segment, and the time traveling just means, we're in the present now. We're not talking about oil production from back in the day, and you heard in the clip, like, this is it, at least in 1995. But while I was doing my little editing thing here, Andrew reminded me of one of the craziest things that he's ever done, and I play a little bit part in it. And
You saved us.
yeah, I did. So I'm going to tell it from my perspective, and then I want you to add the bits that I can't tell.
Go for it.
So we have a mutual friend. We haven't hung out with him in a while, but he was also a roommate of ours. His name was Adrian, and he had the most bonehead harebrained scheme I've ever heard, which was to ride his bike to the beach. And Bakersfield's like 100 miles from the beach, and he was convinced that he could do it. Now, that's one thing. Okay, keep in mind, he's no athlete either. Neither was Andrew at the time.
No, neither one of us were in shape for this.
But then he said,
We were optimistic.
"Hey, Andrew, want to go?" And you said yes.
Yes, I am optimistic. I'm down for anything most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't remember him asking me. I just remember it being a thing. For all I know, it could have been my idea.
What kind of bikes?
Well,
GT Dyno?
yeah, Diamondback. No, Adrian had a road bike that he had gotten from the Goodwill, I'm sure, and I had just had a mountain bike that someone had sold me.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, how far did you guys make it again?
Well,
okay, let me...
Okay,
let me... Because before they left, I was convinced they wouldn't make it. And they're my friends and roommates. Well, you weren't roommates at the time. We hadn't moved in together yet. I didn't want y'all to die. So I made a deal with you that if you didn't make it, you could call me and I would come pick you up. Because I had a pickup truck at the time. I could pick up you guys and the bikes and we'd be good.
Yep, this is before we had cell phones or any of
he
that.
had to borrow his mom's cell phone.
I remember calling you from a payphone.
Yeah, because his mom's cell phone had died already.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's... When was this? Like 2005?
Well, now you guys know that we called them, so we didn't make it.
No. So, as far as the not making it, because you rode your bikes on Taft Highway, like this road that we're talking about here.
Yeah, the road that we said was really dangerous. In order to avoid traffic, we decided to leave at midnight.
Yeah.
And
We saw you off. Like, we met you guys at the park at midnight to see you off.
Adrian had promised me that there were bike lanes the entire way, and I had just gotten out of college, or stopped going to college, and I hadn't been on Highway 119 in years.
Yeah.
And, all my experience with it at that point was just going to the
Just
skate park
driving,
once
yeah.
or twice, so I didn't remember. I thought it had been developed.
No.
It's still the same.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's a little lip of road next to it.
We're talking 2 or 3 inches of cracked asphalt outside of the white line.
Yeah.
So sketchy.
So what?
It was terrible.
You made it to Taft that night, right? Like, or before morning?
It felt like it took us weeks to get to the edge of town. But we rode and kept on trucking and got, after numerous scares with big rigs going on the side of the road and Adrian wrecking once, we made to Taft at about 4 in the morning. No, 5 in the morning? 4 or 5 in the morning. And then we just rolled out sleeping bags and fell asleep because we were dead.
Uh-huh.
We had ridden 45 miles already.
Oh, did I miss what time of the year this was?
August.
August, dead of summer.
Early August.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's
here's
80
the thing
degrees
about-
at night.
I was going to say, yeah. Kern County, which I don't want to say Kern County because it's cool. It's cooler in the mountains and the high desert.
As I was yelling about earlier. Yeah.
No, hotter than Hades.
So when you're on the floor here, it's blazing at night.
Yeah,
at,
you said
at least 80. Yeah,
You
it's-
felt 120 in the day, so...
Yes.
Okay. And this is this area that we're talking about. Taft, the oil fields, all this
is
area.
right through the middle of it.
Did you make it to the little grade there?
Yes, that grade that takes 15 minutes in a car,
Uh-huh.
it takes 8 hours on your feet.
Yeah.
So we fell asleep in Taft at about 4 in the morning, and woke up at about 8. Just sat up in the sleeping bag, looked around, and there's like a prison work gang cleaning up the park around us.
Dude, what did your legs feel like the next morning? The Gumby?
Running off of optimism.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we woke up and we were terrified because there's a bunch of prisoners around us doing cleanup, and one female officer who looked mean enough to wrangle a whole work group.
Uh-huh.
So we just packed up real quick and got out of there, and we started going. We got on the road about 8:30 in the morning. Made it from Taft to Maricopa, which is where the grade starts, right after Maricopa, and Adrian's bike broke down. Every time he'd put pressure to try to ride up the grade, his gears would shift to a higher gear, and he couldn't pedal.
Oh.
So we walked the whole way.
Insane, man.
We had 2 16-ounce plastic water bottles with us that were gone. It was 107 degrees outside. It took us 8 hours to walk to the top. From about, I think we got to the very top at about 4 in the afternoon, 4 or 5. Caltrans guys stopped and gave us water at one point. I heard later that somebody I worked with drove by us and was like, "Oh, there's Andrew. He doesn't want me to stop. He would just say no."
Okay.
And they kept going.
So, if you were going to do this again, how would you proceed?
I would choose a different road.
Yeah.
Just ride your motorcycle.
Yeah, or that, yeah.
So, Adrian was also having heat stroke hallucinations, right? This was no joke. He might have died.
We had to stop it seemed like every 15, 20 minutes or so, because he wasn't sweating anymore. He was getting he was really cloudy headed. As soon as we stopped, he would immediately start to fall asleep. And later, working in the oil fields and going through classes on heat stroke and heat sickness, I realized that he would have died.
So he
could have died.
He wasn't just in the zone.
No.
Yeah,
Just stop sweating.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Oh, I did it. I'm like the runners,
So you get to the
Big near
top,
miss.
and you guys kind of just coast your way down into Cuyama Valley.
Well, funny thing, Adrian's sitting on a road bike with skinny tires and fast, and he just sits on his bike and doesn't pedal, and he immediately just gets miles ahead of me. I'm on a mountain bike that doesn't have as much go, and I just couldn't keep up, and then I got a flat tire.
And that's kind of a steep grade going down there, so I can't
he was
even imagine.
flying. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just crash and die because it would have been so boring he could have fallen asleep again.
Oh, my gosh.
It was crazy. Yeah, he got miles ahead of me. I got a flat tire and walked for 2 miles before I realized I had the air pump. Pumped my tire, right 2 more miles before it went down again, and just did that over and over. Finally caught up with him in Cuyama.
So you're still alive.
Still
and
alive.
Adrian's still alive. Mm-hmm. So what was the happy ending? What happened?
Well, we got to Cuyama, which is a town, and we were excited because we hit civilization, right?
Yeah.
And there was nobody there. Oh. Everything was closed down. We had to keep going 5 more miles to New Cuyama.
Yeah.
Which has a super dope Airbnb now.
Does
it?
Yeah.
Really?
Little gypsy trailers.
Had a restaurant, and I remember spending our last $8 on one burrito. Because we hadn't eaten since the day before.
At the Buckhorn, right?
Yeah, we had 2 granola bars with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, stopped at the Buckhorn, ate a burrito, then called Chris on the payphone, told him to pick us up.
So I get this call in the morning.
Oh, we didn't call you till the morning, huh?
Yeah, you slept in that park, and the sprinklers kept going off.
We were going to regroup, yeah. So we slept in the park for 15 hours.
Yeah.
And I fixed my flat tire in the morning. And
so I get a call almost 2 days later, and I'm like, "Hey, you guys made it." And Andrew says, not quite. And then tells me that whole story. I'm like, all right. And I just get in my car, and I went. I found you guys in that weird park kind of thing. And I felt bad, so I got you guys lollipops at the gas station. I don't know why I remember that.
I don't remember that.
I know I did. And then we went to the beach, and we ate a bunch of food and hung out. And that's that.
Yeah. Sleeping in that park, you start to hear this rattlesnake, and then all of a sudden your face is wet because it's a wet rattlesnake. The sprinklers would go off, we'd get up and move, and 2 hours later they would start to go off in that portion. We finally got smart and went to sleep in a wet part of the park.
Yeah, makes sense.
That had already been watered. It was good.
So, what's that? That was it, right?
I was just going to say that we didn't call you till the next day, which means at that night, we still hadn't given up. We still thought we would wake up okay, fix my bike, and then keep going.
And still ride back.
Oh, yeah. We still had to return.
Okay, so that was stupid.
Yeah.
And thankfully you survived, and you were able to fast forward to work in the oil fields. So I guess we should get back on topic.
I still think about it once in a while when I drive that road.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
of myself on the side of the road just
I
pushing
think
a
about it, too.
bicycle up the hill and how terrible it was.
So in this oil field, we're in the current, or 1995 California's gold timeline. We got this, the kind of ringleader of this group of gentlemen that are showing Huell around, and he's got this big black thing on his pocket. I imagine this is an H2S monitor. I know it's not, but I just wanted to bring those up because that's like one little oil field thing I know is H2S monitors.
Yeah, hydrogen sulfide. Everyone wears a personal monitor now. Back then, that could be one. I don't know.
So
I can't really
H2S
see what it
is like a poisonous gas. It'll kill you.
Yeah, very low concentrations will kill you.
Mm-hmm. And
Cool.
Yeah, it shuts down the part of your brain that makes you breathe automatically, and you just die of suffocation because your brain doesn't tell you to breathe anymore.
cool.
It smells like rotten eggs, but it deadens your sense of smell, so you think it goes away, but really you just can't smell it anymore, and then you die. And then someone rushes in to save you, and they die.
And then it's a pile.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
Wow. That was disturbing.
That wasn't disturbed.
No, dude.
No?
No.
Oh, why can't I think of the name now?
It wasn't-
Drowning Pool.
Drowning Pool. R.I.P. I forgot.
He died in the bus, right?
Yeah. Man.
Oh.
You know who's not dead is the...
Fred
Holmes.
Yes. Now,
What,
this is...
before we proceed, are we going to call him just Fred? Is that cool?
Everyone who has ever referred to him in history says his full name, Fred Holmes.
Fred Holmes. Oh, so he's a figure.
I've worked for his company before.
Oh.
No way.
Wow.
Yeah, I've worked at Holmes. This is a Western well, the rig, and that's Fred Holmes. I'm not sure when it became... I'm not sure if the rig part of it is connected, but it's Holmes Western.
Wow, that's
As
cool.
recently as a couple years ago, we were still doing cement work for him.
Have you met him?
I have not met him personally. By the time... I mean, this is 24 years ago.
Yeah, I figured.
He doesn't go out to the field often. This is just for this day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like...
That's crazy.
Okay, so give us some perspective then, because he kind of makes himself out to seem like some podunk, poor oil field... or oil baron kind of a guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's my family's business. Oh, we don't make a lot of money. Blah blah blah. Like, this guy's got to be rolling a little bit, right?
I don't know. His joke about how do you make a small fortune in the oil fields? Start with a large one and know when to quit. Like that could be accurate. There's a lot of inherent risk in this work. Like a blowout like the Lakeview Gusher, especially nowadays, would cost you millions and millions of dollars a day, not just in lost product, but having the environmental concerns and then having to take care of it and fix it.
And I guess that's probably why there aren't a lot of these kind of like owner operator type small time guys. I'd assume, right?
You see more when the industry slows down. You see more actually when the price of oil drops because it's cheaper for them to get like service work and other things.
So, and that's kind of what we get. I don't know the timeline of oil prices at this point, but
he said it was low during
that's
this point.
yeah. So that must be kind of mean that he's more in the game at this point. Allan, you do all the economic stuff. There's so much that could be studied in this area with oil economics. Does it like tickle you at all?
No.
I know. I never heard you say it once, so I figured
No, not really. I mean, commodity... Let's just call it commodity stuff. We'll call it that. It's interesting, but it's not my cup.
I mean, you definitely like have a lot of facts and figures to study out here, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get into it.
Well,
but-
my favorite area is unregulated banking
Yes.
in California.
Yeah.
It's my favorite area.
The most integral piece of scholarship to ever be done. Just kidding. So, this oil rig thing here,
Yeah, this is a workover rig.
what does that mean?
Workover rigs, go to older wells and, like they're doing right here, pull pipe to either refurbish them or check on them. It's like maintenance and repair work.
Okay, all right.
So for most of my career, I spent time on drilling rigs, which are the much bigger ones that are doing new wells.
New holes, okay. Yeah. And, well, like, as quick as you can, explain exactly what you do, or at least your department does.
I work in the cementing department. So when they drill a new well, they have to run pipe into the ground casing. It's that same piece of pipe we saw sticking up at the Lakeview Gusher.
Okay, yeah.
Once they run that into the ground, I pump cement into the inside of it and then out the bottom and around the outside.
To create like a barrier?
Keeps it in place, creates a barrier between producing zones, and also protects the water table.
That's right.
So they'll pull oil or gas from wherever their zone is, say 2,000 feet down, and it can come up to surface without affecting the water table or contaminating anything.
So you're in the environmental protection agent, or
Absolutely.
not agency, but business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a funny thing that we think of, because the oil industry gets a bad rap for a lot of reasons, fracking and other things, but there are many, many regulations that they have to abide by.
Especially in California.
Yeah.
California, I was going to say California is one of the worst ones about that, but that's not the right way to look at it. California makes it... I mean, even back in 95, Huel said that the fields out here get awards for their safety performance and their environmental cleanliness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks to you.
Yeah, I'm part of it.
Yeah. So Huel is on this like pump truck thing. Do you know what this thing's called?
This is a workover rig.
Okay, so that's what
This
it's
is
called.
a rig, yeah.
Is this the deal that folds down
Yeah.
on itself?
Yeah, all of them do that.
So did you notice when they were talking about that? He's like, "Oh yeah," Fred Holmes says, "Ah, it folds down,"
Yeah.
and Huel says, "Oh, portable." He's like, "Yeah, self-propelled."
Yeah,
Self-propelled.
because it's a truck. It drives. And it makes me wonder how... I mean, I've seen these my entire career. They're still, it's still the standard. It makes me wonder how recently they had changed this.
Yeah, because you can tell you see these unit things around, even around town. Like we said, there's oil production going on in the city right now, and they don't look new. Like
right
it
now,
looks
we're
like
working on
these
wells
ones.
off of Railstyle Highway.
That's crazy, and like it doesn't look like they're any newer than these current ones. They must be, but they don't look it.
Yeah, they're all newer because California has different engine requirements now, but they look exactly the same.
Okay.
I cannot believe Huel is standing
Dude, that's
up
what I
there
was
in the
gonna
derrick. That is...
And he's afraid of heights. This is the thing.
He's
that we,
killing it right now.
so maybe you can give us a window into the hierarchy
Okay.
in the fields. So you mentioned worm, def, lowest level.
Yeah,
right?
I was called a worm for the first 5 years I worked in the patch.
5 years. And what's the next thing you get to? Is it just
No,
your
it's
position?
nothing. It's either
just
worm
a
or not.
Worm and then
Yeah.
your job kind of
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
That's kind of what they say here, like, oh, I'm a worm, and then your experience.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
because
just-
he didn't have a word for that. He said that because he didn't know what to say, because people just stopped calling you a worm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. Basically, if you aren't watching the episode right now, which hopefully you do watch this one because it is pretty wild.
They could have watched it twice in the time we've been talking about it.
I know, right? There's like this platform thing that the worm worker is up on, kind of dealing with the cables and whatnot. How did Huel get up here?
There's a ladder on the side.
I see it. Okay, because I'm imagining him having to hold on to the wire and riding it up real quick.
No.
And having to jump
I mean,
off.
that was a thing a long time ago, people just messing around, but no.
Oh, come
that's
on.
not
I'm
good.
sure this is happening right now somewhere.
Huel right now is somewhere I've never been.
Really?
No, they don't let anyone get up there.
Then how
Ever.
did this
I
happen?
have no idea.
Is it because
I feel
of-
like he talked him into it.
But I totally agree. He
Yeah,
definitely
he's
did.
got no heart. It doesn't even look like he has a harness on. He's not tied off. He's like, you can see the hand has a harness on. He's tied off to it. So if he falls, he's going to drop 6 feet, and that's it.
Huel
I
could
don't
have
see
died
anything on
super
Huel.
good right now.
He could have died super good.
Yeah. He's about in as precarious of a situation as Adrian was on the top of that hill.
No, this is way worse.
Dude, that is... Okay.
But a
Because
minute ago,
they're operating the
What's
machinery
dropping
next to
right
him.
there? What is this guy? That just...
he's pulling the tubing.
Okay.
So he's pulling the tubing out. They unlatch it right here, and then they slide it back into the monkey board.
Oh. Well,
That's what all those those rows are for. That's just where you put tubing. It just holds it standing upright.
Okay. So it's funny because he gets down back on the ground, and there's plenty of hard hats to be worn up there.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they thought, let him go. Just get up there without a hard hat. And Huell actually did it. So obviously he survived. We all know this.
Yeah. Do you remember when he was talking to? I'm going to call him the driller, even though this isn't a drill rig, but he's on the brake running.
Yeah,
Those
those
operating
little
everything.
levers
He's
and
like, "Is it
stuff.
okay if I talk to you while you're working?"
Yeah.
It's not okay.
The guy didn't seem
If
interested.
he looks at Huell for a second, he runs the pipe up too high or too fast, and the guy hasn't got his hands out of the way. It's all bad.
done.
Yeah.
So, that being said, you have been out in the field like that for a number of years, but you're not anymore.
No, I moved to the office for a change of pace.
And that's what we do in this episode right now. So, hang tight as we head indoors.
Saying goodbye to my fellow co-workers on the rig and thanking them for putting up with me. Next, we headed off to the final stop on our oil field adventure. Destination? The South Midway producing field of Mobil Oil. Over 1,000 acres full of pumping units, hundreds of them, and some of the most high-tech equipment you'll find anywhere. Now, this field consistently wins awards for cleanliness and environmental excellence. And it's here since 1987. Mobil's been doing what they call steam flooding, where steam is literally injected into the ground to heat the oil, making it thinner and therefore easier to get out. Mitch Judd, safety engineer at Mobil, took me around and gave me the up-close look at all this amazing technology. It was quite a tour that ended up in a room that's about as high-tech as you can get and shows dramatically just how advanced the oil business has become.
So now we are in probably not what your office looks like, but
Not at all.
it is somewhat like, because I've seen this episode. I actually saw this episode before you got your transition to your new job, and this is always what I've pictured it like. So, yeah. Before we get to the actual office, you hear in the clip, Huell talks about the what is it? The steam pumping thing. What is that?
Yeah, steam injection.
Okay, and you were just telling us a second ago that it happens. It's happening right now, right?
Yeah, they still inject steam everywhere. They can get lighter oil that way, more profitable. The best way the way I think about it is if you've got a Capri Sun, the juice drink, and you blow into the package, then as soon as you stop, the pressure in there forces all of the juice to come out of the straw immediately.
Okay.
Some little kids will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We had Capri Suns.
Yeah.
The Tropical Punch, my favorite.
Ecto Cooler, man. Oh, that was high C, huh?
I said.
High C.
It was. They had a
Yeah.
little comeback for a second.
Did you stab in the bottom or the top?
What
Top. Yeah.
heresy is this?
Come on, man.
Why were you sequestering your straw down at the bottom of the Capri Sun?
You just slom it in there. You don't have to aim, and you just down it. You down the whole thing. You squeeze it and twist it and throw it on the ground.
That's why you don't know what I'm talking about with blowing air into it and pressuring it up.
Because this,
You're just admitting to littering right now.
no, I threw it on the ground.
Yeah, that's littering.
Well, there's
Allan.
in the garbage.
Oh man.
It was a really cool garbage can that was underground.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
because that's what they're doing with carbon these days, and the steam, which you say is creating like a bubble out in this field.
That's what we imagine. We always make jokes about it because there's cavities and caves down there, and they're injecting pressure into it. So we think one day it's just going to sink. No, that's not backed up by any evidence or research or anything.
Well, the oil
Just
field
imagine.
is pretty renowned for having thousands of scientists out there who know everything, right?
Yeah.
No,
With a geology degree, you can go far in this county. I mean,
So-
you can make decent money without a degree. But
That's kind of what I can't even remember what his title was. The guy who was on the bottom of the pumping unit there, the drilling. I'm sounding like a
he called himself the head
Jackpot.
pusher, so I would just
you know
call
who
him
I'm
the
talking
pusher.
about
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the guy who didn't answer any question and only agreed with what Huell said.
yes.
All right, so
So this
Do
is
people-
the nerve center.
The nerve center.
Uh-huh.
In
Okay,
the
These
office.
Commodores.
so people in your office, including yourself, you look at computers, right?
yeah.
And does everyone have sideburns? Or is that optional?
So
It's optional.
yeah, apparently so. What
His
company,
mustache has sideburns.
right? What company is this again?
Is this Chevron? No.
No, Chevron's
Mobile,
on here.
I think.
Mobile, yeah.
And this is like Huel trying to show the like technological advances that have come about. Obviously, it's probably much more now than even then. But the guy who is behind this computer, who is that Trailer Park Boys character that kind of has that curly mullet? Do you know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
I know exactly who you're talking
Okay.
about, and I can't remember his name right now.
I've never known his name, but this is the look and the no side. Like, what happened here?
I don't understand it. I don't. I know when you put glasses on, you're hidden.
No,
You're
he's
cool.
just edged up, man.
You're
This
good
is
to go.
popular now.
It's not even that it stops.
It's
At
a
the
slant,
ear, it
yeah.
goes up. Yeah, it's
It's a good look. Is this one of the snapshots you got for the Instagram?
absolutely.
I figured. Okay. So
This guy could beat me up so fast.
even today, because he's probably like 55 now.
Now he has old man strength.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what I imagine you're looking at. Are these screens of just like
Not at all.
drawings of
No.
tanks?
Well, I work for a service company,
I
so
know.
they call us and we go do work for them. This is all of their monitoring equipment.
Well, until you show me otherwise,
I do a lot of work with Excel.
as do I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Hey.
Funny enough. Who I feel bad for in this segment is old Midge. Did you notice that he obviously did a whole kind of segment with her, getting a whole tour, and she gets like one line in the whole show?
Yeah, I mean this whole segment is super.
Just slammed in the
Yeah,
head.
slammed. Did you notice though? This company seems a bit more formal than old Fred's operation, at least at this period.
Yeah, no.
And you notice that Huel has a hard hat on, even
Yes.
in the office.
Yeah, that's true. No, well, I'm not sure if it was ExxonMobil at this time, but eventually it became ExxonMobil.
Okay. Well, Huel really seems to have liked this episode a lot. He even kind of like morphs himself back over to the oil museum.
Do you think they drove back, or did he film this before? Was this planned?
He's such not like a planner as far as these kind of shots. They happen so rarely that I want to think that he came up with it while he was standing there. He's like, Louis, what if I just went back and then you just whoosh me in?
Finished his sentence like in the other place. It was crazy.
I know. That's why like
Yeah.
it had to have been extra super planning if he did it beforehand and then taped
Maybe
the
they
ladder
just
later.
taped that outro part in both places and then cut it together. Decided at the last minute.
That could be true. Man, I really wish Louis was here to answer these questions every episode. But that's never going to happen.
We should get him on the line.
All right.
We'll do it.
I'm not
I'm
gonna
working
call
on
it.
it.
Yeah, do you guys have a line?
Later.
We're working on it. Maybe Exxon or Mobil could loan us one of those Commodores to get this show into the 20th century finally. So, does this kind of feel like a good representation of the oil industry as you've experienced it in any way?
Sure. I mean, it doesn't cover much of the day-to-day work except for the 5 minutes on that workover rig. But yeah, it's a lot of it still looks the same. It's still the same people out there 24 years later. Yeah, it's accurate.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you came to kind of give us a personal view of this because I've heard your stories for years, obviously.
It's the only thing I have to talk about. You could have done this without me.
In fact, last night you were telling me all your work stories, but
Yeah.
you live in a whole different world out there. You've said it many times that it's weird to hear it because, unless we're going to go out there and work, which me and Allan are too big of sissies to ever do that. So no thanks.
Speak for yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But okay.
You got your shirt ripped off.
I got stories.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me that Huel is bigger than anyone who's working out in the fields in this video.
Mm-hmm. I really wish that there was some sort of like wax museum version of him so we could get a real size comparison, because...
It's a great idea.
Yeah, you should make that.
All right, I'll get right on it.
Okay.
So that kind of wraps it up, yeah?
Yeah. We're just back at the... what is this, a pumper?
Are we talking about walking beams?
Pumper. Oh, yeah, they walk on the beams. Did you have something about that?
Yeah, no, well, because I think they talked about it earlier, but we're back. And in this scene specifically, they talk about when... what did he refer to it as? I think he referred to it as a one-lunger.
Yeah, the motor. He's talking about the motor, I think.
One lunger, right?
Yeah.
And when that stopped, everyone would wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminded me of the episode. Do you remember the sawmill? That whole city? I forget.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Mono Lake episode, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
What's the ghost town? It doesn't have trees. Bodie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when the sawmill?
Yes.
It seems like this is a common occurrence with machinery
No,
in a city.
It happens to a lot of people. My dad was a truck driver for years, and he ran a reefer unit. And if that, he had constant noise of that refrigerator just going. If it shut off, he couldn't sleep, and it woke him up right away.
Oh.
And for years afterwards, he couldn't sleep without a fan on or something just to make ambient noise.
That makes sense.
True.
I've heard of that kind of thing, too. Well, speaking of the noise of the oil fields, that's what we end off this episode with, which is a weird kind of like clicking, humming, annoying sound that, like, okay, I get it's nostalgic for these guys, but I don't want to end the episode with that. It is too weird. So we'll just end it with our normal theme. But, yeah, I like this one. Obviously, it's Kern County. We're biased. We all live here. We grew up here. Andrew's in the industry. It's, love it or hate it, it's what you're in, right?
Well, you've tried to get me on this podcast before, and I managed to avoid it.
Yeah.
Other places I had lived, and I couldn't say no to this one.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I finally did it.
And you can come back anytime for anything that you feel is relevant, because obviously Huel went everywhere, and you've done a lot more than just pump cement into the ground.
Catch me on the next Taft episode.
Okay. There are a couple
Oil
more.
Dorado?
Yeah.
All
Colorado.
right.
That's when I accidentally watched preparing for this one.
So you're already super prepared. So, Alan, where are we going next week?
We're more... I don't know if we're going anywhere. We're going to see a train.
So we're
the train
going.
is a place, no doubt. But we're going to see the California...
It's really
the California Zephyr, which, according to the Chapman description, is a magnificent train which traveled between Chicago and Oakland from 1949 to 1970. So Huel's going to climb aboard.
And it still is a line that Amtrak runs to this day. So it's definitely one of these things that you can go do as soon. You could listen to the episode on the Zephyr.
Whoa.
Please do.
And, watch the episode and then listen to the episode.
Yeah.
Or just watch the episode on a loop all the way to Chicago.
It doesn't go to Chicago anymore. I think it's just in California. But one thing...
then don't ride it. Boycott it until it
because
starts.
it's got the open window thing, and it's like along the coast. So
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's like an experience type of a deal.
Okay.
But, if we're talking trains, we're talking train freaks.
Train freaks.
For life. So that's going to be a fun one next week.
It'll be good.
Thanks, Andrew, for being on.
Thank you.
And we hope that you come along with us next week and every week as we continue our search for
HUELL'S Gold.